Just imagine, your voice assistant can talk to your clients in 3 languages without any issues. This video is a complete tutorial on how to make your existing Voicebot multilingual by just using 2 platforms, Vapi and Make.com.
Hello, are you comfortable speaking in English, or would you prefer to be assisted in Polish or German?
Polish assistant, please.
Please hold on while I route your call to our Polish speaking assistant.
Cześć, tu Janek z Cosmetics World. Jak mogę pani dzisiaj pomóc?
German assistant, please.
Please hold on while I route your call to our German speaking assistant.
Hallo, hier ist Jonas von Cosmetics World. Wie kann ich Ihnen heute helfen?
For this tutorial, I will be using a voice assistant for e-commerce order tracking created by me in the previous video. If you don't have any existing assistant for this build, you can watch my previous video, build an assistant and get back here. If you have any existing assistant, let's proceed and make your bot multilingual. To build a multilingual assistant, we will be using a relatively new Vapi feature, squads. So squads are multiple assistants that you can place under one phone number, and they can have different responsibilities. So as Vapi suggests, squads could be used for complex workflows. So let's say on one phone number, you can have multiple assistants. And for example, one assistant is responsible for lead qualification, and then he routes the call to another assistant who is responsible for appointment setting. So once a user is ready to book an appointment, the call is routed to another assistant. So here we also have a JSON construct to build squads. We will get to it later during our build. And let me show you one thing. Okay, and here we have an example for our multilingual squad. So as you see in our squad, we have 3 assistants, English, Polish, and German. And the call initially falls on the first member of the squad, so it's English assistant. If English assistant understands that the user is ready to speak in English, then he continues the conversation. And if English assistant understands that the user wants to speak in Polish, then the call is routed to Polish assistant. If English assistant understands that caller wants to speak to German assistant, then the call is routed to German assistant. Now let's build our multilingual assistant. So as I said in the beginning of the video, we will be using an assistant that was built by me in the previous part. So it was Ola, and Ola was an assistant for an e-commerce store, which was helping users to know the status of their order. So let's say if a user wants to know the status of their order, he has to provide the package number, and Ola, using an external database, provides the status of the package. And our goal today is to make this assistant multilingual, so English, German, and Polish. And Polish and German assistants will be also able to provide status of the package by getting a package number from the user. So I'm using the same assistant that was created by me in the previous video, but I made just one modification here because here we have a squad. So at the beginning, I added one more task. So now Ola doesn't only have the task to provide a caller with the status of its order, but the main task, that is the first task, is that at the very beginning of the conversation, just after the user says, "Hey," you're responsible to route the call to assistants speaking in other languages. At the beginning of the call, ask the caller if he's fine with speaking English, or you should route the call to Polish or German assistant. And here I have some condition models. So if caller says that he's fine with speaking English, don't route the call and just proceed the conversation with the caller. If caller says he wants to speak with German assistant, route the call to German assistant using squads. If caller says he wants to speak with Polish assistant, route the call to Polish assistant using squads. And that's all. So we gave Ola a guideline that she is a member of the squad. So she's responsible to routing the call to other assistants. As Ola is the main assistant, so the call will fall on her. So it's important to give her this guideline at the very beginning. And then you just proceed with other guidelines. So how to extract package number, how to give a status of the package. So everything that we discussed on the previous video. So now let's configure other members of squad. So firstly, it will be a Polish assistant. So it's Janek. And here the prompt is the same as Ola had, but there is no guideline to route the call. It's just a prompt that Yannick is tasked with answering questions about the business, as well as he's tasked to give the status of a package using a function, package number pel. We will create this function a little bit later. But a very important thing here is that a first message, so if the prompt you can make in English, because OpenAI, as we are using it as a provider here, will understand any language, so you can use your prompt in English, but the first message should be in the language of the assistant. So here it's Polish language, and here I'm writing that, hello, I'm Yannick from Cosmetics World. How can I help you today? Let's get to transcriber. It's important because here we have to use Polish language for transcription. So Yannick will understand Polish language. And also at the beginning of the prompt, I just gave Yannick a guideline that he is a Polish speaking assistant. For voice, I chose 11 Labs, and I chose voice Adam Polish narrator. So 11 Labs provides Polish voices, and you can check if 11 Labs or any other voice provider provides language that you need. But here an important part is also that you have to use a multilingual model, because if you don't use a multilingual model, then your voice could sound a little bit weird. So it's like Polish voice, but with a very English accent. So it's important that you have this model 11 multilingual V2. Two tools we will get later. Here in advance, I just ticked audio recording as with Ola. And yeah, that's it. So let's get to our third assistant. It's Jonas, and Jonas is a German assistant. So here, everything is basically the same. Prompt is in English. I just copied from Ola. But just don't forget one thing is to state that Jonas is German-speaking assistant. And also, we will give him another tool. So not the tool for English assistant, but the tool for German assistant. For transcriber, here I use German transcriber, so D. Also for voice, I used deep German voice, and also 11 multilingual V2 model. So here everything is just the same, and just don't forget that first message again should be in German, so not in English. Now, what we have to do, we have to make our assistant transient. So from previous video, you may remember that Ola was not a static assistant, but a transient assistant. So Ola was integrated, so not Ola, but our Vapi assistant was integrated with other platforms like Airtable, like a database. So to do that, we have to place a server URL on make.com. So make.com is a platform that connects different platforms together. So our call was falling on the server URL on make.com, not on Vapi server. Here, I'm showing you a flow for Ola from the previous video. So as you see, our call falls on webhook, so on server URL here. And then we have a webhook response where our Ola, our assistant, is configured using JSON construct to respond to the user. However, here we have a different situation, and we will have to change a webhook response a little bit, because now we will be responding to a user with squads, because we have 3 assistants which might respond to the user. So a very important thing to do is to take the server URL, go to Vapi, and you have to be sure that your server URL is configured here. Another important thing is that your phone number is not assigned to any assistant. So it's not assigned to any assistant, and Vapi will send the call to server URL on Make. It's also very important. We are now in our make.com scenario, and I'm deleting a webhook response here. So we have a webhook, so our call falls here, and now we have to make some modifications. So the first thing I'm for it's set multiple variables, and here we are setting a variable's phone number ID. So to find your phone number ID, go to Vapi. Here you have a phone number, and here you can copy your phone number ID here. Paste your phone number ID, and you have one important variable created that we will use later. Now we have to set a couple of more variables which are important to create a JSON construct for our squad. So I'm choosing again set multiple variables, and here the first item I'm adding is assistant name 1. So it will be the name of the first assistant, and it's Ola. And then I'm adding assistant name 2. It will be Janek. And I'm also adding assistant name 3, and it will be Jonas. Now we have to add 3 more variables. So the first will be assistant ID 1, add assistant ID 2, and also let's add assistant ID 3. So here you have to paste the IDs of your assistant, which you can find also on Vapi. Here you're going to your assistant and you're copying his ID. And you have to paste your IDs here. So just go to every your assistant, so to English, Polish, and German, and paste their IDs here. And the last model for setting variables I'm adding, it will be a squad. So we are adding as variable name squad, and here we will paste a JSON construct for squads. So let's go to Vapi documentation. And here you can see a code provided by Vapi, so a JSON construct to configure a squad. So first of all, we see that it's a squad. Here it's a squad, and the squad have some members. Then you have to define these members. So the first, you defined assistant ID. So the first member of the squad will be a member on which the phone call will fall. So you are defining assistant ID here. So it will be our English assistant, and you're defining the assistant ID, and you're giving some destinations. So where this assistant could route the call. So I prepared this code in a JSON editor. This code will be for our multilingual assistant. So as you see, here we have members of the squad. And here we have to paste the assistant ID of Ola. So it will be the first assistant ID that you give, it will be the assistant who will take the call. So here you're placing Ola's assistant ID, so it will be English assistant, and English assistant has such assistant destination. So first it has assistant destination to Janek. So it can route the call to Janek. And what will be the message when Ola will be routing the call to Janek? It will be, please hold on while I route your call to our Polish-speaking assistant. And the description, description is like you have to give assistant an understanding. So you have to give Ola an understanding when should she route the call. So route the user to a Polish-speaking assistant. So if Ola hears that user wants to speak with a Polish-speaking assistant, then she's routing the call to Janek, and she's saying that. And another destination that Ola has, it will be Jonas. So the name of the assistant is Jonas. And the message is, please hold on while I route your call to our German-speaking assistant. And the description is, route the user to a German-speaking assistant. So when Ola hears that the user wants to speak with a German-speaking assistant, she will be routing the call. And now, very important part. So our Polish and German assistants, they will be not given an opportunity to route the call. There is no sense in that, because once the user is routed, then I think he will proceed the conversation in German or in Polish. However, it's important to configure them, because here we have members and we have a list of members. So as you see, the list is closes here. So the first member is Ola, so here will be her assistant ID. The second member will be Janek, and it will be his assistant ID, and it shows that Janek doesn't have assistant destination, so he doesn't route the call. And the third member will be Jonas, and he also doesn't have any assistant destinations. So let's copy this code and paste it into our model. So I'm pasting the code, the JSON construct here, and you have to add the variables. Here, as you see, as we created variables here in these models, then these variables are mapped here. So you can choose these variables and paste them into here. So here you are pasting the assistant ID of the first member, so assistant ID of Ola. And then you're given the destination. So the first destination will be Janek. So we are given assistant name 2, it will be Janek. And then we are also given a destination for assistant 3 name, so to Jonas. And then we have to add other members. So here we are adding assistant ID 2, and here we're adding assistant ID 3. So why are we doing it in variables? We are doing it in variables because you can add more assistants, you can change your assistants, and it will be just very convenient for you to configure everything here without changing the text, but just changing the variables in these models. So let's save it. And the last thing that we have to add is a webhook response. So what you have to add in your webhook response, so do you remember that we configured a phone number ID? You have to add a phone number ID here, and you have to add a JSON construct for squad. So you are having here squad, and you're adding a JSON construct for squad, which we configured in the previous model. And okay, so we have a workflow. And now we can call this assistant and check if we can route the call to another assistant.
Hello, this is Ola from Cosmetics World. How can I help you today?
Hello, Ola.
Hello. Are you fine with speaking English, or would you like me to route the call to a Polish or German assistant?
Polish assistant, please.
Please hold on while I route your call to our Polish-speaking assistant.
Cześć, tu Janek z Cosmetics World. Jak mogę pani dzisiaj pomóc?
Cześć, Janek. Do widzenia. Okay, so as you see, our call was successfully routed. So initially I called a phone number, and there was, so Ola was the one who picked up. However, she asked me if I want to talk with Polish or German assistant. I gave her a green light. So I said that I want to talk with Polish, and the call was routed. So Janek picked up, and I was having a conversation with Janek. So that's how it worked. So our squad actually worked, and the call was successfully routed to Polish assistant. I'm in my Vapi account again, and for Ola we have a tool here. So here is a tool, it's package number, and let me show you quickly this tool. So here's this tool, the name is package number. Here is a description of the tool. This tool takes the package number mentioned by the user to give info on the status of the package. Here is the properties, so this tool takes a package number. And what we have to do now is to configure such tools for our Polish assistant and for our German assistant. So let's create a new tool. Here you have to add a server URL. So for our Polish assistant, we will be using the same webhook, so the same server URL as for our English assistant function. So let's get to make. And here I have a function scenario for Ola. So for tool for Ola, so that Ola, when she hears the package number mentioned by the user, she can tell the status of the order. So here you see a webhook, so that's the webhook that we are using, and here where tool calls are following. Here we are sending a request to the Airtable database. Here I have a database, and here you can see that there are package numbers and there is an order statuses. Here I'm sending an HTTP request to make, and here I'm filtering that if a package number mentioned by the user is equal to the package number from the Airtable database, then I'm sending a webhook response to the user. So Vapi assistant tells the order status to the user. And now we have to make such two functions, so such two scenarios, not only for the English assistant, but for German and Polish assistant. So let's take the webhook from here, go to Vapi, and I'm pasting this webhook for our Polish tool, so for the tool of the Polish assistant. Let's get further. Here we have a property name. It's package number. PL. And here we have exactly the same description of the properties that we have for an English tool, so exact package number mentioned by the customer. After you ask about the package number, we are saving this property, and then we have to give this tool a name. Just be sure that this name is different from the tool name for your English assistant. So for my English assistant, I have package number, and here I will call it package number PL. And here we have the same description for the tool that we had for an English tool. So just copy everything except for a property name and a tool name. So as you see, I have a tool created. Then I go to our assistant, I go to Yanak, I go to functions, and I'm adding this tool. So I'm adding package number PL tool and publishing it. I just did exactly the same for a German tool. So I named this tool package number D. At the description, I'm creating the tool. So here you see that we have the third tool, package number DE. We are going to assistant, we are going to UNAS, and we're adding this tool. So package number DE, publishing. And now every assistant, so English, Polish, and German assistant, has its tool. So it can process package numbers and it can give a status of the order to users. Now I'm in my make.com scenario and all of the tool calls are falling on the same webhook. So to solve this problem, we have to add a router. I'm just unlinking this for a minute and I'm adding a router here. I'm linking this. I'm adding 2 more routers because we have 3 different tools here. Okay, and as you see, here we have a scenario for English, so for our English assistant. But how to let make.com know that this scenario is for English assistant? So we are going to add a filter. So you see the sign, so you can set up a filter. And here, what we have to find, so in tool calls, we have to find function and we have to find name. So when function name, so tool name equals package number, so not package number PL, not package number DE, but package number. So when tool call name equals package number, then we are proceeding with this scenario. So only then we are proceeding with this scenario and our assistant will give a response in English. I hope it's more or less clear. So let's add the same for our German and for our Polish assistant. So here I'm also adding a filter, setting up a filter. So in this situation, our tool call name should equal package number PL. And then we can configure the further scenario for that. And here we are also setting up a filter and our tool call name should equal to package number DE. Okay, so we have a particular flow for an English assistant here, for a Polish assistant here, and for a German assistant here. So every time a user is calling and he wants to get the status of the order but in English, then the scenario will go here. If he is routed to German assistant and he wants to get the status of his order in German, then he will be routed here. So now we just have to add the same as for Ola, but also add a translation. So for our Polish assistant, let's add an HTTP model, make a request, and here everything is the same. So you're doing everything the same as in English assistant. I just copied everything. So URL, headers, and value and your authorization token. I just copied everything, and it's just the same model. So just copy it from your English assistant. And now to proceed with further models, so for this iterator and with webhook response, we have to feed webhook with data for Polish, so for Polish assistant. So let's call our assistant again.
Are you fine with speaking English, or would you like me to route the call to a Polish or German assistant?
Polish assistant, please.
Please hold on while I route your call to our Polish-speaking assistant.
Cześć, tu Janek z Cosmetics World. Jak mogę pani dzisiaj pomóc?
Cześć Janek, mogę sprawdzić status swojej paczki?
Oczywiście. Proszę podać numer paczki.
111 Once we made this call, we fed our assistant with data. So in a webhook, we gave our assistant a package number. So for our Polish assistant, so it's going here. And we gave our Polish assistant a package number. It's processed this package number and it sent a request to Airtable. So now we have records. We have records from Airtable. So the next model that we have to add is iterator, like for an English assistant. We are choosing iterator and then we have to choose records. So records, it's data which we got from our Airtable database. Those are records that we got. And now, the same as with English Assistant, we have to iterate through the values. The next model that I'm adding will be a translation model. So I will add a translation tool, which is called Text Cortex, and I will choose Translate Text. So I'm creating a connection. Here I already have a connection to my Text Cortex AI account. So to create an account, just go to Text Cortex AI, create an account, and there, once you create an account, you will find an API key, which you will have to paste to create a connection. So once you have this model, you're just choosing create a connection using your Text Cortex account, and either you will be just logged in if you're using the same browser as you were using when logging in when signing up to Text Cortex, or you just can use your API key. So in text input, what I have to do, I have to write the text that Voicebot will be saying when he will be giving the status of the package. So I will just take the text which I'm using here in English webhook response. So as our iterator was iterated through the values, I'm using your package is order status, and estimated delivery date is estimated delivery date from iterator model. So why we needed this iterator model here? Because here we get our data as just a bunch of data, but here we iterated through the records, and now we can use different columns. So here I used order status column and estimated delivery date column. And the target language that we are looking for is Polish, so it will be a Polish translation. But now, in order to proceed to webhook response, we have to add one important thing. So we have to add a filter. And why we have to add a filter? Because if we don't add a filter, then this translation will be applied to the whole database. Because now we're just taking all records here, all records from the whole database, and we are translating them. But what we have to do, we have to translate only that one record that was requested by the user by his package number. So I'm setting up a filter, and if package number that was announced by the user, so I'm looking for it here in arguments, and here's this package number PL. So it's the property that we had. So if this package number announced by the user is equal to package number from the database, so here in iterator module, I have package number, only then we are translating this input, only then. And the last thing we have to create is a webhook response. So I'm creating a webhook response. And in webhook response, I'm going to English Assistant flow and copying this, because what is this? Is a result for a tool call. So you can actually go to Vapi documentation, just write tool call result, and you will get this JSON code. So I'm using it from an English Assistant. I'm just copying it. If you don't remember, just rewatch the last video because I explained it quite well there. So copying it, pasting it here in the body, and here I have to use a tool call ID, and I'm already using it. So just for you to show where you can find it. So you're going to tool calls, and here you have a tool call ID. And here the result will be not that, it will be the text that was translated by Text Cortex model. So this will be a Polish text that was translated here, and it will be a webhook response. Okay, so I'm saving it. And let's give a call to our Polish assistant and ask about the package number.
Hello, are you fine with speaking English, or would you like me to route the call to a Polish or a German assistant?
Polish assistant, please.
Please hold on while I route your call to our Polish-speaking assistant.
Cześć, tu Janek z Cosmetics World. Jak mogę pani dzisiaj pomóc?
Cześć Janek, mogę sprawdzić status swojej paczki?
Oczywiście. Proszę podać numer paczki.
111 111.
Moja paczka jest wstrzymana. Przewidywana data dostawy to 10 października. Czy mogę jeszcze w czymś pomóc?
Nie, dziękuję bardzo. Do widzenia. Okay, so as you see this flow, that when I called Janek, then only this flow worked. So this flow didn't work because it was not an English assistant, it was a Polish assistant. So if it went through this call, through this flow, it translated, so here you see a filter, and it translated only one record because it was 111, 111, 111. So it translated only this record and it gave a webhook response. So here it is in Polish. The package is on hold and estimated delivery date is 10th of October. So it's said to me in Polish. So now what we have to do, we have to make the same flow for our German assistant. So as you see here, we have a German assistant and we previously added a filter. Then if the function name is package number DE, so Deutsch, so it's German, then we're moving with the flow. And I will just copy this exact flow, the same flow for this German assistant. I just made an HTTP model here and just on this model, just don't forget to give a call to your assistant again and to give a call to German assistant. I just called a German assistant, fed it with package number and sent a request to Airtable, and then I can add these records to my iterator. Here again, don't forget to set up a filter. So I'm setting up a filter that again, I'm going to tool calls, function, arguments, and here I have package number DE. So that is a package number that is told by the user, but to the German assistant. Be careful here. So it should be package number that is told to the German assistant is equal to package number from the database. Here in text cortex model, everything is the same, just the target language is German, so don't forget to change it. And I also mapped over the values which were received in this iterator. So in every flow, we are mapping through the values which are received in the previous models from this particular workflow. For German assistant, for webhook response, everything is the same. So here in tool call ID, we are going to tool calls of German assistant. So here it is, we are taking an ID of this particular German tool. And for the result, we are pasting here text. So it will be text that was translated by text cortex, but this time it's in German and I'm saving it. So let's check how our German assistant works. I'm just gonna give it a call.
Hello, are you fine with speaking English, or would you like me to route the call to a Polish or German assistant?
German assistant, please.
Please hold on while I route your call to our German-speaking assistant.
Hallo, hier ist Jonas von Cosmetics World. Wie kann ich Ihnen heute helfen?
Hallo Jonas, könnte ich bitte Status meines Pakets überprüfen?
Natürlich, ich brauche dafür Ihre Paketnummer. Können Sie mir die bitte nennen?
Das ist 222222.
Warte mal kurz. Ihr Paket wartet auf die Bezahlung. Das voraussichtliche Lieferdatum ist der 12. Oktober. Benötigen Sie noch weitere Hilfe?
Dankeschön, Jonas. Wiedersehen. Okay, and as you see, for Jonas, it's basically the same. So for German assistant, it's the same. So it's noticed that I want to speak to the German assistant. So this English flow for English assistant was ignored. Flow for Polish assistant was ignored as well. So it took the German assistant flow. It went through the filter. Here you see the tool call ID was package number DE, so it was German tool. And here the filter didn't work as the same as here. It didn't work. So yeah, it sent a request. Here it found this bundle. So it found that package number is equal to 222222, and it gave a response. So here it is in German. Your package is waiting for payment, and the estimated delivery date is 12th of October. So as you see, if you use the assistant, if you build the assistant from the previous video, which was intended for the user to receive status of their packages just by saying their package numbers, and if you also integrate this multilingual model and make your assistant multilingual, so this package status assistant can talk in 3 languages, and you can integrate as many languages as you want. You can modify your prompt, and for example, you can make Ola not answer at the beginning which assistant you would like to talk, but just a user will be telling that from the very beginning, I want to talk to German, Polish, so you can modify it in the prompt. But as you see, the squad feature works very well, and it routes very easily assistant from one assistant to another. And yes, so this is a multilingual assistant. I hope you found it useful. You can find all the resources used in this video in our school community where we educate people on AI and automation, so check it below. If you want to implement such solution to your business, you can check our AI and automation agency Silhouette AI under this video. Thanks for watching this video and see you next time.